Season finale.
Season finale. Finale. Hey, if you know, you know.
And for like wider society, I think for people to be more open to just entering into dialogue.
I do get something from being hopeful. It does enable me to move forward, to feel more optimism.
And that collective pressure and movement has caused people in power to be like, we need to make a change.
And he was, look at this new clip, like, brace yourself, it's amazing. Red and white Arsenal clip.
Hello and welcome back to the Social Matters podcast. We are three social workers talking about social matters. Hi, I'm Eugene.
Hi, I'm Fran.
Hi, I'm Nadia.
I feel a little bit excited and disrespected at the same time. That's my current state of feeling. How about you two?
Pray tell, why?
Yeah.
So excited because it's our final episode of the season.
Yeah.
But disrespected because the new Arsenal kit's come out and I was taking time to, I think the listeners need to know this, I was taking time to talk both of you through the detail and how exciting it is and the significance of the kit just as before we entered the studio. And how did you two respond?
I was so confused. I was looking at what am I looking for? It's red and white Arsenal.
Yeah,
like
it's
it looks
disrespect.
no different. I was like, and he was, look at this new clip. Like, brace yourself, it's amazing. Red and white Arsenal clip.
Yeah. And we were excited because both of us can appreciate a good football kit.
Yeah.
Like we had on our last episode with Hot Flush.
Yeah.
But then you just get out and it's just the standard Arsenal
Don't
kit.
just look. Adidas are watching, Arsenal watching.
It's a great kit.
It's
You're
a
right.
fantastic.
It's great.
It's a
Red and
fantastic
white
kit.
Arsenal.
No, but it's the detail.
The detail, yeah, you're
When
right.
I talked you through the detail,
Yeah,
you
fine.
will find.
Yeah. When you zoomed in and I saw the A's, yeah.
Yeah. And that was nice.
That
when
was
he
nice.
really showed us it on the old kit, what some small
The
stitches
blue,
of
it was blue, and then now
white.
it's red.
Yeah.
It's not small stitch, it's the
a-
Adidas free stripes. But it's the timing of the kit is really important because our season hasn't ended well. But what it is doing is giving us a lot of hope for next season, and that's going to be a new and hopeful season. A segue
Man,
into
like
what
huge.
we're discussing today. So yes, we're having an episode talking about hope, and we did have a similar one. What was it? 4 years ago we were looking.
You're the specialist. You are the specialist
Yeah,
subject on
it was-
episode season. So
I'm not sure the season, but it was January 3rd, 2021.
I feel like season 2021.
3
Wow.
that would have been.
Season 3.
No, 2019 was season 1, 2020 was season 2. Yeah, season 3. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is the end of season
7.
Wow.
Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, just thinking about setting the context and the scene for this episode. So a first question that I had is, why is it important for us and for you to be talking about hope now, from an individual perspective, from a life perspective, from a societal context perspective?
For me, I think it feels as though we've been having, as an organisation, a lot of conversations about hope with other people in our work and, like, you know, with in what we've been doing. It's felt as though it's a subject that's really like present and relevant at this time. So I think I'd say that obviously, you know, the state of the world at the moment is really sort of potentially inviting the loss of hope. And, you know, I think we do well as an organisation to hold hope, in our work. So yeah, it just felt quite a timely thing to be talking about here on the podcast, just because we've been having sort of quite organic conversations about hope.
Yeah.
Probably similar in terms of the like global political landscape feeling quite bleak. But then also, you know, you both know stuff in my personal life as well, like, and family. It's almost like I'm really feeling that at the moment as well, and the importance of holding hope for kind of people close to me and loved ones. So yeah, it's that time, isn't it, when things are heavy, that you not everybody, but I suppose from my own perspective, what enables you to keep going and look to a future, and hope is one of the kind of key things there, one of the core aspects to kind of think about that future. And then, as you said, I think, you know, the work that we do, you know, we just were in a conversation this morning and somebody asked that question of like, how do you sort of hold the hope? We were talking about anti-racism and certainly in our social work careers of holding hope for families. So it is something that comes up a lot, doesn't it, of navigating holding hope when things can feel bleak. So yeah, it just feels like a really important, relevant and pertinent topic.
Yeah, definitely. And it is that kind of intangible, invisible, almost superpower that you can hold on to, because like you can't see or predict the future, but you have to, the concept of hope is that idea of like things will be better, things will improve, and whether that's connected with your spirituality or your religion or just your way of thinking or your worldview, hope can be so powerful to keep people going. And I think about people in really difficult personal situations. I often think about what keeps them going in this situation, and it is hope. And I think the reason for me why it's so important to talk about it, and as we always say on the podcast, a conversation starter, because I wonder how foregrounded the notion of hope as a tool of navigating situations is for people. And maybe it is for people and they just don't connect with it as much, or maybe it is for people and they really connect with it. But that idea of talking about the significance of hope and the significance of the erasure of hope, like these are things that I think is so important for us to be talking about in our work, in wider society, from personal perspective, and yeah, connecting with our relationship with that.
Yeah, I was well, I think it was our friend while you were talking that the thought or the idea of like toxic positivity came into mind of like, you know, so when we say hope, what do we mean? Do we just mean being like super happy and hope, like, you know, upbeat all the time, and then that leads to that toxic positivity? Like, oh, everything's fine, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna be good. Da, 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 da. It's a bit of a different, you know, there's a distinction, isn't there, between holding hope and that toxic positivity. But I don't know what the like nuance is, or but I was just thinking, how do we kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I was thinking the same, because we're all people that have a privilege maybe in being able to have hope and hold hope, but for some people it will feel and is right now feeling hopeless, and that might seem like a really intangible thing to hold hope when things are so bad. And I was thinking a similar thing of kind of, I guess, almost that systemic both and, that like to kind of validate a hopeless experience and then hold hope, because it's not kind of just holding hope that everything's fine, because it often, if you're looking for hope, it's because things aren't. That you're wanting to kind of look for some hope as well. And then off the back of that, I was also thinking about hope being, I guess we talk a lot and think a lot systemically, you know, that the systemic kind of perspective on hope. Because on the one hand, are you holding hope in yourself and in your own mind, or you're holding hope in relation to others? Or a bit of both?
Yeah.
Is it an individual thing, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's something about being able to hold hope for people when they're feeling hopeless. So like, you know, in some of the kind of, you know, spaces that we're in, you know, people feel hopeless, and you holding hope on their behalf can, you know, introduce hope to the system in some way, without the expectation of, you know, the person who is in the distress, or, you know, in the position where they're feeling less able to hold hope. You don't sort of blame them, like, come on man, just be hopeful. Like, actually you're the one that's doing that heavy lifting for them in that space. So I think in terms of, you know, that relational systemic kind of way, it's probably incumbent on those that aren't kind of in the hopeless position to hold it for them, but not just hold it, but like do something with it, like the whether that is just sitting with them in that depth, but holding that kind of hope for them, or actually proactively going out and doing something to help improve their situation, being active in it. It's on us as the people who aren't kind of lost in the despair to hold that hope. That's what I'd say.
I like that idea of almost hope moving from maybe a feeling to a verb, and showing and expressing hope. Because it's something that we can try and hold on to and think, I'm feeling hopeful for X, Y, and Z. But then what do we do with that? How do we move that into like a verb and doing something with it? And
and it's contextual, because I think I definitely agree with the points around like toxic positivity, and I don't think everybody can be hopeful all the time, because your context will determine how hopeful you are and the position of that hope. And I guess part of what was coming to my mind when thinking about what I feel I'm going to bring to this discussion today is that hope has been significant for me recently in my thought process when seeing how the political landscape is going, or how decisions are being made, or how, for example, trans people being treated with regards to the ban in sport, or the Supreme Court ruling, and the Donald Trump approach to politics in America, how that's been adopted with Nigel Farage and the statement with regards to diversity and inclusion employees in those respective councils. And I'm thinking, for a lot of people in these positions who are directly affected or indirectly affected, it could be easy to be like, man, what are we going to do? Like, these people in position in power, they are changing policies, they are changing rhetoric. So what I believe in as an individual, I can't do that anymore. So let me just go back and just focus on making sure that I'm okay and the people around me are okay. And that, I think, is a very, whether intentional or unintentional tactic by those who want to oppress, is to kill the hope of those who want to make a difference. So in that aspect, especially when thinking about the privilege we have in this world and where we are in our lives, for people like us, it's important for us to not lose the hope in the work that we're doing. It's important for us to make sure that we are hopeful for those who are more directly affected by these changes. And so being hopeful contextually is probably how I see hope, rather than a blanket, everyone be hopeful.
That made me just think about the connection between community and hope. And
oh yeah, me too.
And the expression and the kind of holding hope, but then expressing that to someone from a systemic, like, relational perspective. And when you were speaking about the recent FA ban of trans women in football, I'm part of the wider Clapton Community Football Club in London, and players, trans women, have been impacted by this ban. And I reached out to one of the players and messaged her and was like, just like, solidarity, ally, how are you? This is awful. And she messaged back thanking me and just saying, through not just me, the collective support, community, reach out, how had shed lots of tears, was feeling hopeless, but was just feeling validated, seen and hopeful. So that is an example of, like, how we can galvanise and act on, hopefulness for other people who was feeling very hopeless, to kind of move forward and hold the hope. So that was a kind of example that came to mind.
Yeah. And I think that's a great example of like small things that we can do to maintain the hope and make sure that people feel that through actions. Because when thinking about significant changes or movements, changes in policies and legislation over time, it hasn't happened because a single politician was like, oh yeah, let me change the laws to make things more equal and fair, and basically people can be themselves. It's come from people on the ground up, like challenging the legislations, challenging the structures, challenging the policies, maintaining that hope that actually things can be different. And that collective pressure and movement has caused people in power to be like, we need to make a change because the noise from the majority is getting louder and louder. So just for my political position or our political position as a political party, we have to do something. Our noise and our hope has to be loud and consistent in order to try to put pressure on those in power to make sure that we have a fair and equal society and people can just be themselves and don't have to hide in fear of abuse or and be excluded from doing the things that they love and then makes them who they are. So hope is a significant superpower.
So when I just wondered, how do you both do hope? Like what are some of the things that you practice or how do you hold the hope?
I think I don't know, back to kind of thinking about hope as relational. I think one of the practices that I do, just with you asking that question, is express hope and share hope and hold hope for others. I think that is something that until this conversation I've not necessarily thought about, but thinking about the kind of person in my wider football team, and actually it made me think I do that quite a lot of holding hope for others. So I think there's that bit in terms of self and other. I think in terms of my own practice, I think perspective and how I get that could be my own pausing, slowing down, reflection, could be talking to my people, aka Euge and Nads. No, but to get that, because I think it is important, isn't it? And we are all quite hopeful people, but I think having those conversations when things can feel quite hopeless, I think I do get something from being hopeful. Yeah. I think, it does enable me to move forward, to feel more optimism. So I think I do get something from being able to be in that space. So I guess once I've kind of validated how shite things are, it enables me to hold. I don't want to say it's hope, but yeah, I was trying to think of another word for hope. But yeah, hold perspective or a lightness for difference or the future, because that's what keeps me going, I think.
Yeah. When I think about change in society, so when thinking about an aspect of my minoritized identity and race, I reached a position a few years ago that I don't believe I'm going to see the world that I want to see with regards to racial equality in the time that I'm alive, unless I have the ability to live until I'm 700 or whatever. But I don't think I'm going to see it in my time. But I think I'm a part of the puzzle, and I'm meant to do what I'm meant to do whilst I'm on this earth to move us a bit forward to the place of racial equality, with the hope that the generations of my prospective grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-grandchildren will be in a position where we are much further forward, and maybe we have achieved it. Because the world that we're trying to create with regards to equality, and racial equality is what I'm talking about, but equality in all aspects, we're trying to create a world that we've never seen before. There isn't a blueprint in the past of like, oh yeah, remember that time when we had equality amongst all, racial equality. So I've seen the signs of how holding on to hope and taking action, and hope as a verb, has been able to allow us to progress with regards to all of these kind of aspects of discrimination.
Yeah. What about you, Nadine?
Yeah, just similarly in terms of like thinking about it relationally, like if I'm stuck on something or if I'm feeling quite weighed down or whatever, I know that there's always somebody that I can call or, speak to or reach out to who might be able to help, might give me, lend me their skills or their wisdom or something. So I feel like that community thing of it's not just all on me to, solve it, that actually reaching out is something that's super, that I have the option to, so I'd say that. And my relationship with my God, like that is something that brings me so much hope when I think about I'm part of something bigger. So, and there is something bigger than me that is holding it all, is something that I take great comfort from and take great sort of reassurance from, because I do think my hope really does lie in Jesus, and some people might not be able to connect or understand or relate to that, but there's something that has seen me through every time, in all ways. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
No, I can feel it. Ow.
Sorry, I'm stench now, don't you know?
So a question that was coming to my head when thinking about hope is, what do you hope for in your life from now going forward as an individual, but also for wider society?
Ooh, what do you hope for in your life? I hope, for me personally, I hope for health. I think as I'm getting older, I'm realizing and recognizing that I've generally, thank God, been very healthy growing up and active and mobile. But it's such a gift, and I think that I don't want to take it for granted. For me personally, health, and for wider society, I think for people to be more open to just entering into dialogue. I just think that there is this real kind of, them people over there doing that, I'm not trying to be involved in that, or that, it can be quite sort of segregated and distance, and the power of just being able to hold conversation and getting into dialogue with somebody else, just to maybe not even to understand, but just to get into that. I think that's something that I've just really hoped for wider society. Let's just be able to be a little bit more open to having dialogue about things, because maybe that small step might introduce a difference that then makes a much bigger difference. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I hope is.
Nice.
I hope that one day my kitchen gets completed. That my new kitchen that started 3 years ago now will be finished. No, but these two are living through the minor trauma. So I think in terms of personal hope, I hope for peace. And I suppose when I say that, I just mean that inner contentment and peace. And I think, Nads, you sometimes describe it as your spirit. I
say my spirit's disturbed.
Spirit's disturbed.
Yeah.
And that really resonates with me when things are a bit off kilter in life for whatever reason. So I think that's what I mean by that kind of peace. And I definitely feel as I'm getting older, I'm feeling it more and more. I think, you just more, and it's not to say, the ebbs and flows of life, but just more content in who I am, where I'm at in my life, bossing a business with my two besties, so I definitely feel that peace. So I guess it's, having that feeling. I think for the world, I'm going to steal a quote by the brilliant Jordan Stevens, who said that 99.9% of the world's problems at the moment are due to emotion dysregulation. And I therefore think there should be a global curriculum on emotion regulation, so that everybody can just be a bit more attuned to their emotions, because, emotion dysregulation has a lot to answer for. So just more thinking about that.
Love that. Love that, Fran.
I want what both of you want individually, but I'm gonna. So for me, with regards to what I hope for individually, is the opportunity and the time to connect more with people, so relationships, and that's with loved ones. I think a lot of my friends have children now, or having children, your daughter, and I think I've really enjoyed having the time to spend more with people. And for society, it's a little bit like what you were saying, Nads, around people talking. I just want people to feel more informed and more educated, because again, I'm only talking from my perspective, but I feel that there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of lies, there's a lot of misdirection with regards to what are the root causes of our issues and our problem, and there always are going to be small minoritized disadvantaged groups, and that's how it's always been in my lifetime. And I just want people to kind of take a step back and be educated in their own way and think about the inequity and inequality in society that people are experiencing. It's not as a result of somebody who's also experiencing that hardship and that inequality and that oppression. So that's what I would hope for, the opportunity for people to be more educated through different means in order to make what I feel is a really informed decision on what they want to put their energy into. I feel like I want to hold your hands now for the end. So it's like
Season finale.
Season finale.
Finale. If you know, you know. Anyway, thank you. We've come to the end of our episode and the end of our season. Thank you for coming along with us for this 7th season. It's been a lovely journey, I would say. And we're going to be off for the summer, but we'll be back in September-ish for a brand new season with new episodes, new exciting guests, and new conversations. So if you want to follow us on our journey and hear more about us, then you can follow us on Instagram at Matters Podcast, on LinkedIn, Social Matters, on our YouTube channel, the Social Matters Podcast. Leave a comment, share, like, and join and continue the conversations. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.